I've tested every current mainline Adidas football boot, and in my opinion this is probably Adidas' strongest lineup of boots for many years, which means making the decision on what boot to get a hard one. So in this video I'll be going through each of the different silos and telling you what each boot does well and not so well as what size to get. Starting with the Adidas Copa Pure 3. This is Adidas' mainline touch boot and it mixes a traditional feel with modern innovations. The Elite model costs £210, but you can find it at lower prices at different retail sites quite often. The Elite model has a laced and laceless version. Performance wise they're going to be more or less the exact same, but with the laceless version you may feel you have a less interrupted touch on the ball, but the lockdown will not be as good as the one on the laced version. In terms of performance, the boot features a fusion skin upper with a leather forefoot and synthetic midfoot. The touch on the ball feels close to your feet with a slight dampening effect because of the cushioned forefoot, but overall the boot feels quite traditional. The boot uses the comfort frame outsole. It's a neutral sole plate which isn't too snappy or aggressive, but it feels very comfortable and supportive. Feel wise they fit very snug around my feet, and I'd say they fit most foot types. I went true to size, but they feel great on my feet. So in terms of who this boot would suit most, I'd say if you're a player who prefers a more traditional feeling football boot with a bit more padding but doesn't feel too heavy and chunky, as well as offering a no-nonsense and distractionless playing experience, then the Copa line is probably the best option for you. And if lockdown is a big priority for you, I'd recommend going with the lace model. Next is the F50, and the F50 is Adidas' speed silo. And the Elite model has three versions. You have the laceless and laced, and then you have the Plus model which is also laceless and also uses air cushioning technology. So you get the usual differences between laced and laceless. I've tried on both and I just prefer the more relaxed feel of the laceless version on my feet, despite the lockdown being a bit worse. In terms of performance, in the upper you have what Adidas call sprint web, and then on top of it you have this micro texture which Adidas call fiber touch, which helps provide a bit more grip on the ball, but it's hardly noticeable when you play. Overall it offers a very barefoot and responsive feel for the ball. The outsole itself is quite multifunctional in my opinion. It uses a variety of different stud shapes, and Adidas call it the Sprint Frame 360. It's not the springiest of sole plates, but it still feels quite responsive and supportive and overall light and comfortable. Overall I thought it does a good job. Now in terms of fit, I'd say the F50 is the narrowest of all the Adidas silos. However, as long as your feet aren't like super wide, these boots should be fine on your feet. Now in these boots I went true to size, but they did feel a bit gappy at the start when I first got them, but after breaking them in they kind of mold more to your feet. So my recommendation is if you want a more relaxed fit, I'd say go true to size, but if you want like a super locked in fit, I'd go half a size down, providing your feet aren't too wide. And in terms of who this boot would suit most, if you're a player who really enjoys a really close barefoot feel for the ball and aren't too much of a fan of like super aggressive outsoles, but still feel you want something that's supportive and responsive overall, then the F50 is probably the boot that you're looking for. Then you have the F50 Messi, which is a bit of a pseudo silo in my opinion. These are just a special line of a 50 that includes some of Messi's modifications. These are hybrid touch upper and a mono tongue, which some people call by its more delicious name, the burrito tongue. With this you're getting an F50 which just feels more like a traditional leather football boot, but the upper itself is still very thin and offers a barefoot yet traditional feel for the ball. In terms of the outsole, you're going to get the exact same outsole that you see on the F50, except I don't think the Messi line comes in AG or SG. I could be wrong on that one, but I don't believe it does. Fit wise, I feel these fit a bit more true to size, and because of the monotone construction you can adjust the volume of the boot, so if you have wide feet I think these are even a better option than the regular F50. I'd recommend this boot to. I'd say if you're someone who prefers like all the kind of qualities that speed boots offer, yet you still want something that feels a bit more traditional and old school, I'd say that this is probably the best option for you. Last but not least, we have the Adidas Predator. You have the folding tongue, which I have in my hand, you have the laceless, and you have the laced. Performance wise, each of them will be more or less the same, but there are subtle differences. So the usual that you get between a laced and a laceless model, and with the folding tongue model you get this kind of more dampening effect when you're controlling the ball, from my experience. And how you wear the tongue affects the fit of the boots as well. So the lower down you wear the tongue, so closer to the toe box, the more relaxed the fit feels on top of your foot. But lockdown is still very good in these boots despite that. From a performance point of view, you're going to get a boot with a hybrid touch upper like the Messi F50 that breaks in very quickly. You also have the strike skin on the side as well, which is there to add a bit more grip on the ball. Overall offering a touch which feels like your feet are very close to the ball, yet still being traditional and isn't overly grippy as well. And really the only time you kind of notice the striking is like when you're striking the ball. It's not going to be like a huge game changer, but like that's the only time I say you can actually really notice it. And it's not going to make your shots more accurate or powerful, but just overall the feel for the ball is very responsive. The Control Frame 2 outsole performs very well. It's not too snappy, but it's still responsive and offers a good level of traction. Overall, I'd say this is probably the most well-rounded boot in Adidas' portfolio. In terms of fit, the boots wrap around your foot very well. I went true to size in these and I find the toe box to be very narrow. My recommendation is, in terms of sizing, that if you want something which feels very, very snug, I'd say go true to size. But if you want something with a bit more comfort and a breathing room, especially if you have wide feet, I'd go half a size up. Now, in terms of who I'd recommend this boot to, I'd say if you're someone who wants a boot with a bit of everything, then this is probably the best boot for you. You get responsive touch on the ball, it's lightweight, it's comfortable, and it still has a bit of a traditional feel to it as well. Now, hopefully this video has helped you make a decision if you want to on which Adidas football boot to get. I know I won't be telling you which one I think is the best, because I don't want to influence your decision in that way. Because what makes a football boot good or bad is subjective. We're all different people with different preferences. Also remember, boots for position is not a thing. Your boots do not know what position you are, and they will not enhance any ability to be able to play a position. It's always best to prioritize comfort, fit, and find something that suits your budget. Nevertheless, thank you for watching and see you next time.